Hello, welcome back. We're starting now functions. So let's start off with a definition. A function is a rule that assigns to each input exactly one output. So you have some rule, you put in an input, and it gives an output. But not only does it give an output, it gives exactly one output. This output is called the image of the input. Some other additional definitions that are very important. The set of all inputs for a function is called the domain of the function, and the set of all allowable outputs is called the codomain. Think of this as a family of possible outputs. If we're trying to describe this mathematically, some of the times we're going to write things like f colon x arrow y. And when we write that, we're giving our function a name. We're calling it f. We're specifying that the set of inputs to this function, the domain of the function, is the set x, and we're specifying that the codomain is the set y. Recognize that when we write this, we haven't told you anything about what f is. We're just prefacing the information that's coming later, in which it will be helpful to know what the domain is and what the codomain is. The types of functions we're used to dealing with are functions where the domain is a continuous set. Here's an example of a rule. Given a real number as an input, we have as the output the square of the number. No matter what the input is, there is exactly one specified output. Well, what's the domain? The rule says we can have any real number as an input, so the domain is the set of all real numbers. And when you put a real number in, you're going to get a real number out. Recognize that this codomain is not the same as the set of actual outputs. It's just a set of possible outputs for this function. The shorthand we would have written for this function is f goes from r to r, because the domain is all real numbers and the codomain is also all real numbers. Here's another example. Let's create a rule that says for a given time t yesterday, define capital T of t to be the temperature at LaGuardia Airport at that time. The domain of this function is going to be the set of all times. So maybe we can say times are written in hours, and then we have the hours between midnight yesterday and midnight today. The codomain are the set of possible values. Again, we can say real numbers. And the shorthand for this would be capital T is a function from this interval, 0 to 24, into the set of real numbers. Now again, the codomain is not the set of values that the temperature takes on. We did not get to -1 million yesterday, but it's the family of possible values that can be outputs of this function. Now let's talk about a function defined on a discrete domain. Here's a rule. Given an integer in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, follow the arrow in this picture that leads to its output. So if you have 1 as the input, the output would be 3. If you have 2 as an input, the output would be 4. Well, the domain is the set of inputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The codomain is the set of possible outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we would write this as a function from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's look at one more example. Here's a rule. Given an English word as input, the output is the first letter of the word. The domain is the set of possible inputs. So in this case, maybe we call it capital W, which is equal to the set of all words in the English language. The codomain are the types of possible outputs, and outputs are not words anymore, they're just letters. So maybe we call the codomain L, which is the set of letters A to Z. And so our shorthand would be that this rule would look like this. F is a function from W into L. That's it for now. See you soon.